I'm going to share something with you in this series that I called it Remember the Alamo. And the Alamo is an acronym, which you'll learn about in this series, this playlist of videos. I recently spoke on a stage in front of our entire organization, thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs. And then I shared this framework. And in fact, what was so remarkable about it is the number of experts, other speakers we had at the event who are experts in lead generation, social media, marketing. They came up and they're like, Chaz, this blew my mind. And so people paid hundreds, actually thousands of dollars to be in the room. And I'm going to share this with you in this series. There'll be short clips, but this one set of framework, this thing that you're going to learn, if you watch this and you apply it, it is going to massively separate you in the game. The way marketing is changing and the way everything is changing is to understand how leads get acquired and how they get liquidated and how you can monetize those leads. And you're going to learn that in this framework.
I want to ask a question. Remember when I drew cash flow quadrant up here and I talked about the self-employed and the business owners? Again, this is going to help Jordan and I craft it. This is not a judgment statement. So please, how many of you identify that you're self-employed, solopreneur, like you're running the show? It's you without pay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Could raise that higher. Okay. Hey, let's fix that. It's not a not-for-profit, right? Not anymore. Okay. Awesome. So how many of you business owners? Okay. Also not for pay. How many business not ever pay? Yeah.
More hands went up.
Yes. So it's like all of a sudden I wasn't self-employed and I wasn't a business owner, but when I said not for pay, like, yep, that's me.
Got it.
Okay. Yes. Raise it higher. Yeah, Braden would love that. Raise it higher. Okay. What we're going to talk about here tonight isn't just important to scale business and to grow business. It's required to grow and scale business. And if you're serious about winning in the game, this is going to be what you'll have to do. Okay. This is not optional in any way. In fact, what you're going to learn is something that isn't typically taught. In fact, you can go to a lot of business conferences, and here's how I know this. Because when Jordan and I started diving through this, and I'm going to do the first half, Jordan's going to do the second half, but we'll bounce back and forth. So again, jump in anywhere.
Yep.
But I want you to understand, we're teaching this framework. This is what's crazy. We're teaching this framework to industry experts who are literally going, wait, hold up. Did you just say what I think you just said? We're like, yes, that's what we said. And this really works that way? Yes. And then we show them and they're blown away. In fact, some of them who are here, who we love and have now become dear friends, who will then join us on this panel, Rachel and Liz and some of the speakers tomorrow, not only love what it's about, actually partnered with us on it. Because what we're going to share with you in this framework is going to be dramatically, many of you are seeing this right now and you don't know how to play this game. And we're going to show you how to play this game, okay? Since the first of the year, I did a couple hundred face-to-faces or a little over 100 face-to-faces. And here's what I learned. I learned two things, and I'm gonna share those with you, okay? The first is almost all of the people I talked with, one of the questions I asked was, how many leads are you generating? Now, I'll have to even back up that conversation even further because there was a misunderstanding of the definition between a lead and a referral. They're different. So I would say, how many referrals are you generating and then how many leads? So I asked both, right? And here's what I found. They would say a number. Like, well, first off, like 90% of people said, I have no idea. Because as entrepreneurs, we're not very good at tracking. So they say, I have no idea how many leads I'm generating. Okay. And those that did, they'd say, well, I'm generating 50. I'd say, oh, awesome. 50 a week? Oh, no, like 50 a year. Okay. How's that working out? What I realized through this, and this is where I came back to Jordan, I'd gone to a mastermind and we came and sat down. I said, Jordan, this is a problem. This is a problem in our membership that we're not generating leads. In fact, we may have created this monster to some extent because here's what I want you to understand. You need both leads and referrals. You need both. This is not a competition that one is better than the other. You need both. Referrals come from first off, does anyone know what a referral is? Someone tell me, what's a referral?
A referral actually has an introduction and you're lending your trust to that from one individual to the other. A lead is someone that is no particular context, just basically a name and a number. They might have some interest or some low level of interest that can turn into something.
Somebody raised their hand with their name, email, phone number and said, they came across the website, your phone, they phone called, something like that. Said, I have an interest, or at some level, I've raised my hand about what you do. But it wasn't an introduction. They weren't referred to by anybody. Those are two different things, and you need both. Here's the other thing I learned. No sales process. No sales process. And you're going to hear about this tomorrow. Bobby's going to talk about selling and the sales cycle, sales process. But when I started talking to members, I would ask about their sales process. And then just basically I would just ask this. So what you're telling me is you wing it. No, no offense here, but you wing it. You're not a script, you're not a process, you're not a pipeline like Jordan was talking about. You're winging it. We've got to fix this. Guys, at the risk of going either too deep We're going over people's heads. I'm just going to slow down for you to hear this. If you do not master the game of leads and master sales, you are going to get swallowed up. And I hope by the end of this, you're going to see this. This is a requirement in business. With tools that are out there, this game is getting sped up really fast. This really became clear to me when on spring break one time, we were at the beach and my kids were like, hey, we want to watch this movie. We watched the movie The Founder about Ray Kroc, where he talks about how he grew the McDonald's franchises and how anyone see the movie, The Founder? Awesome movie, right? There's a scene in here where he's at the bank and Mr. Sonneborn's there and he overhears the conversation. He says, I can help you. And he goes and he looks at his books and he says, Ray, you're not going to make the fortune on a 7-cent margin on a hamburger. You need to own the real estate that the building sits on. Right. Thus you have control, right? And all of a sudden he said, you're not in the burger business, you're in the real estate business. And you could see it. I mean, I loved his face, Michael Keaton's face in that scene. If you haven't watched it, you can YouTube, look at the clip, watch his face. It's a great acting scene, but his face is like, oh, the light bulb you could see go off. It's a great acting scene. Light bulb goes off and he goes, what? I'm in the wrong game. And so I hope tonight the light bulb goes off and you go, oh, this is the game I also need to be playing. And when you do, it's going to change everything. In fact, I love this quote. So when we were jamming on this, so many people get to this point and they go, oh, I know what game I'm playing. And I'm just going to keep playing it until I master it. Ray Kroc didn't know the game he was playing when he got. We think when we go into approach different situations, we're like, oh, no, I know the game. Oh, wait, now I went to a new mastermind. Now I know the game. Now I know the game. And sometimes we look back and we're like, man, wish I'd known that a long time ago. That's why I love this quote by T.S. Eliot. We shall not cease from exploration. Means this, we're not stopping playing the game just because we don't know that we don't know something yet. We're going to keep trying new things over and over and over again. We're going to keep coming to masterminds. We're going to keep coming to our chapter meeting. We're going to keep coming to connect. We're going to keep coming. We're going to keep exploring until we start to learn what we didn't know we ever didn't know. And the end result will be to arrive where we started for the first time and actually understand. This is super important, guys, because when you're going about business, you're going to arrive back at the same point that you started, which was, I need to create freedom to create impact. I need to create financial freedom to live the life that I want. But you're going to come back around and you're going to be like, oh, I get it now. The reason why this becomes so important is because Ray Kroc, if you remember the movie, he was struggling. When he was going into the bank, he was struggling. He was kept trying new things. He was going in to get a different loan and trying this element and trying this. And he was so willing that he'd talk to some just random stranger and let him go look at his books. Sure, go ahead. We cannot cease from exploration. You don't know the game that you're in. Now, the reason why I'm saying this, guys, is because the things that we're going to talk about today, the things that we've been experimenting on, the things that we've been working on for a long time here, you're going to go, what is that? And at first you might be like, no, I'm not sure about that. Do not cease from exploration. Keep going, because you never know the game that you're going to play until you start playing it. Make sense? Good on that? Okay. This framework, remember the Alamo. I want you to think about, you're going to remember this acronym, but this is the game that we're playing. And when you understand how to play this and win, it will break business for you. It is the game, you will win this game, and it is different. And then when when we figured this out and when we came back, I was like, Jordan, let me just bounce an idea off you. We started talking through it. And I was like, if this is possible, if this works and this is possible, it changes the entire math equation of business. Guys, we've been doing an experiment, which Jordan's going to talk about, for over a year for this. Pretty cool, right? That's a long tail game. We're like, we got to prove this. Be prepared right now to go through this little bit of an emotional roller coaster. You're going to see this just like I did in that moment and go, that's not how this is supposed to work. Exactly. And great things happen when you get right on the bridge, right on the brink of that moment. I'm going to give you the competitive edge. So here's the question I want to ask you. How many leads right now are you generating every month? Just write that number down. Let me ask you this before I go to the next slide. How many leads do you think your competitors are generating every month? Are they generating more or less? More? So how can you compete? How many think your competitors right now are generating more wins than you? Most hands in here. Okay, so how do you compete? I hope to show you how you can not only compete, but actually beat them and dominate by this. Okay, is that fair? So let's go to this first one. The first in the Alamos, you have to acquire a lead. I'm gonna try to keep this very basic, but then go deep. Okay. What is acquisition? Acquisition is the game. I've got to acquire leads. How do I acquire leads? And what does that mean? That means I get people into my world. I'll share something with you. I was at a conference I spoke at. I was a speaker at somebody else's conference, and this lady came up to me and she said, this was like 3 weeks ago. In fact, I shared this with Jordan. She came up to me and she said, Chess, can we just have Will talk? Yeah, sure. Which I'd like, that sounded loaded. I have no idea where you're going. She said, I get way too many emails from you. Okay. I said, how did that happen? She's like, well, I don't know. I'm like, well, how did that happen? She's like, well, I don't know, but I've been getting them for years. So at some point you raised your hand and got into my world. Remember what I just talked about? Acquiring me? That's what happened. And I send you how many emails? She's like, you're sending me like 8 or 10 a week. I said, well, when did you unsubscribe? She's like, I didn't. Okay. See, buying is a process, not an event. Too many of us treat it like an event. It's a process. To further prove that, one of the ladies that's in my coaching program sent me an email. And this was like, Elizabeth can attest, this was like 4 or 5 months ago. She sent an email, which Elizabeth checks my email. So if you're here last year, you talked about how she now checks all my email, does all the email stuff. And this is what this lady said. She has, I think I need to talk to you about coaching. And Elizabeth sent it to me and said, hey, we booked an appointment with this lady. I'm like, I have no idea who this is. That's a cool day. And like, somebody says, I want to spend money with you and you don't even know who they are. And so I said, I was just curious. So I went and looked it up. Guys, 7 years ago, she opted in and has been in my world for 7 years, getting all those same emails. The other lady said, you send me too many emails. And one of them hit and she's like, I need to talk to you. Because we've been consistent and we acquired her as a lead 7 years ago, she was there. So I want to talk to you about, here's the way you can acquire leads, okay? The first, and if you want, I'm not going to go deep on this. If you want to learn more, when we get to Q&A, ask that lady right there, Rachel. She's an expert at this, okay? The first is organic traffic. You can acquire leads. Rachel, you acquire a ton of leads organically, correct?
I know.
Yeah.
We're in the thousands per month.
Thousands per month, right? Organic. What does that mean? Naturally, like social media and opting in, like you're not running the
You're not paying for those in a Facebook ad, a Google pay-per-click concept. These are the efforts that she put out there resulted in thousands of leads coming into the system.
By the way, that's the game. You guys want to play the game, like organic traffic, and you can get the game. Awesome, right? But that takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of work. You're changing some time and so forth, right? Okay, so you have that. Then you have paid. How many of you are running paid leads to get leads? Paid,
Michael.
A couple of people,
Michael,
right?
Yeah.
How hard is that game right now? It's competitive, isn't it?
Very competitive.
And does it change every day? Say that again, Roger.
Sometimes, like I was using a network lead before I joined Masters. I was using a networking lead before I joined Masters, and I was spending like probably $1,200 a month, and I don't get nothing for that whole month. And then I just
$100 a month where?
on network lead systems.
Lead systems, right? And you weren't
Yeah.
getting anything.
I wasn't getting anything.
Yeah, you should go spend a lot of dollars, say on Facebook or Google or others, right?
Yeah.
And they're paying you for the views or the looks or the clicks, whatever, but it's not a lead. You want to start here. So again, when we get to the Q&A and the panel, this is where you want, and Rachel talked about this, this is where you want to start, but this is also part of the game. But why do most people don't do this? It's expensive. Why else? I agree, by the way. Complicated. Say again, they don't have it proven yet, meaning the customer, the person doesn't prove, they don't know how the ad works and if the copy works and the creative. By the way, I love this. I love all the experts, okay? I've hired many of them. It is so funny when I'll hire one and then they're like, you know what you need to do? And I'm like, wait, that is directly in opposition with the last expert. Like the exact opposite of what the last expert told me. Annie, look at all these heads. You just stop right now and look at all these heads. You're going, oh, huh? So half the time I'm like, are you really an expert? You actually know what you're talking about? This is a tough game. This is a really tough game to play. And you have to spend a lot of money to know if it's actually working. That's the hard part. Yeah.
And it can work. And in fact, it does work. It works really well for the people who figure it out, but then they have to figure it out again tomorrow and then figure it out again tomorrow, right? That's the only game that they play. And we've met those people that are really good at that, right? And that's awesome. If you're really good at that, fantastic. But that's one thing. And the ones who are like the people who we've had conversations with about all this, who are really, really good at paid advertising, they're also spending $40,000 a month on it. No joke. We met and had a conversation with somebody, $170,000 a month they spend on it.
Yeah. You'd hope at least 170,000.
Yes. They were generating roughly around 120,000 leads, but their business model had to handle that volume. If they had less than that, it was not a break even. They would lose money.
Here's the other part. What we share with them, what we're going to continue to share with you, it was almost so unbelievable to them that they were like, I can't buy this.
Yep.
I can't believe this. Until, oh, wait. And so when you're looking at acquire, we're not saying you shouldn't paid ads. You should, but you got to do it right. And we're going to show you how. You're going to have to know what's called CPL, your cost per lead. Really simple equation. This is what you spend in marketing divided by the number of leads. It's a pretty simple equation, but you've got to know this number, right? You're running paid traffic, you said, Michael. I bet you guys that's pretty dialed in, right? You know what your cost per lead is. Do you mind sharing? This would be great for example. What's your cost per lead? $55. Okay. Man, we're going to blow your mind. $55. What kind of lead are you looking for? Okay. So for a home inspection lead, then okay, let's hold that. So here's the second stage. When you acquire a lead, the first thing you want to do is liquidate that lead. What does that mean? What do you think I mean by that? If you spend $55, what's the hope you can do right away? Make at least $55.
At least 50.
Why? Cover your base. You're liquidating the cost to acquire that lead. Make sense?
Awesome. This was part 1. I really want you to make sure you check out part 2 because this is where money starts to flow. So check out part 2.